Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Listen, Learn, and Love, hosted by Richard Osler. It's a Sunday afternoon at our home. I've been in California for the last week, so it feels good to be back in Utah and doing more podcasts. You wouldn't know we haven't had any interruption in podcasts because we've been releasing them on a consistent basis and recording them as needed. But we're back in the studio, and today in my home, we have my friend Noah Hanson. Welcome to the podcast, Noah.
Thank you for having me.
Noah, I'll introduce Noah's, and then he'll correct me if I misspeak, but Noah is 24.
23.
23, grew up in Farmington, served a mission in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us the name of the full mission name.
It's the West Virginia Charleston Mission.
West Virginia Charleston Mission.
Yep.
You're at Utah State University. Share with our listeners what you're studying.
I'm going into marketing, and I graduate next spring.
And Noah's going to share his story as a gay Latter-day Saint. Noah's boyfriend is here, Marshall. Welcome to the podcast, Marshall.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Marshall is here mostly just as support, but sometimes people that are here as support end up being on the podcast a little bit. So you may hear from Marshall, you may not. Marshall is a graduate student at Utah State University, returned missionary from Atlanta, Georgia North Mission. And you're 24, turning 25 shortly. So I've got my notes backwards. Noah's just going to share his story as a gay Latter-day Saint. Noah and Marshall both are active in their wards, participating as much as they can, have a deep testimony of Heavenly Father, of our Savior, as trying to stay as connected to the church as possible. Noah's going to share his story of really coming to terms with his sexual orientation on his mission, coming out to Heavenly Father, and then coming over his mission and dating women. And we'll talk about getting engaged and then ending that engagement, and then talking about how he felt his path is to date men. Listeners, we just share lots of different stories. If you're a consistent listener, you'll know that we share lots of stories of LGBTQ Latter-day Saints, some that are in mixed orientation marriages making those work, some that are celibate making those work, and some that feel their path is a same-sex marriage. And we're just trying to bring everybody together as the same human family. I invite everybody to follow church teachings, to follow church doctrine, but in the reality of some people's lives, they feel their path is different. I don't mean sure to use the word different, just they receive personal revelation for their path forward. And we all recognize it's not consistent with the teachings of the church, but it's sort of like, what do we do now? And I think what our Heavenly Parents want us to do is to find unity, even in diversity, and keep the family circle together, keep friendships intact, help people feel God's love and support in their lives, and leave any judging to our Savior. So is that okay to frame it up like that, Noah?
Yeah, that was perfect.
So we had a prayer before we started. Marshall offered the prayer, and we just pray that His Spirit will be here. And especially if you're LGBT and closeted, maybe something that Noah shares with you will be helpful for you as you're making your way forward and trying to figure out how to reconcile being LDS and LGBTQ. So Noah, tell us about growing up in northern Davis County or whatever, Farmington. Tell us about high school life. What were you into?
High school life? I was pretty into sports, actually very into sports. And then my senior year, I was a student body officer. Now my specific job was to film for the school. So a lot of the cinematography, a lot of the videos that were played at assemblies, they're either good or bad, as good as a high school film can be. But yeah, those were all played there, and I did sports highlights as well. And so yeah, that was pretty much my entire high school career, is like trying to get involved as much as I can, and I don't regret it at all. I loved my senior year. It was really, really fun. And then obviously it was super fun, but then there was also that a little bit of me that was struggling on the inside with being gay. And but I really didn't, I don't want to say that I thought about it all the time, but when I did think about it, it was overwhelming. And it was very sporadic though whenever I would think about it. But it was very overwhelming and very scary, because then I would think, oh, maybe I'm not worthy to go on a mission, or if I go on a mission, um, then I'll be sent home like early because I am gay, even if they don't know that I'm gay. Just these different thoughts that I would have. But all in all, I really, really enjoyed high school. And so
What high school were you at?
Viewmont High School.
4A or 5A?
It was a 5A when I went. I think it's down to a 4A. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's down to a 4A because Farmington High School opened up the year I got home from my mission. So, and then that took a lot of the Farmington people. So now I think it's down.
Talk about what sports you played.
So all growing up, I played football and basketball. I played lacrosse for like a year and I did not like it. My dad will be crushed like hearing that, but yeah, I did not like it. I love football though. Like I am a very big football fan. I'm a Patriots fan. That's very controversial to say. But
That is controversial.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, big sports fan. Basketball was also like one of my favorite sports, and like fun. Also, a little fun fact too. My cousin is Sam Merrill, and he just barely got traded actually to the Memphis Grizzlies or something like that. And so he's like, and he was on the Bucks, and they were his first year there. They were NBA champions, and we all kind of disown him now because we're jealous. But yeah, like my whole family has been really into sports my whole life. So,
and I forgot to mention your brother, Colin, was on the podcast back in November of 2018. That's almost 3 years ago. He was episode 58. So tell us just the number of siblings you have. So Colin's gay and you're gay. Tell us about the number of siblings you have.
So I have two older brothers. My oldest one is married. He's married to a girl, and then the middle child, Colin, is currently dating a guy, and I'm the youngest. So,
talk about some of the stereotypes. Sometimes there's this sort of stereotype of a gay man in society, a gay high schooler, and you don't seem to fit many of those stereotypes. Just talk about your thoughts on that.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't. There are definitely like stereotypes, and I think like if someone's like a stereotypical gay, I guess, and whatever that is to you specifically, like you can pretty much guarantee that they are gay. But like I think there's also a lot of closeted people that like you wouldn't think twice. Like there's no way that they're gay, and I think everyone has their own different like stereotypes in their heads of what it is. Like mine's probably different from Marshall's, and mine's probably different from yours. But I guess I mentioned this to you earlier. Like I think the only stereotypical thing about me, and I mean it's not even that stereotypical, is like I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. And other than that, like when I tell people that I'm gay, they're usually just like, oh, like I should have known, like you only listen to Taylor Swift, which is true. But like, I mean, they wouldn't have thought otherwise. And so whatever it is, like it's just different to every single person, like that stereotype gay. And so there's just a lot more closeted people, I think, that aren't very like outspoken about it because they're a little bit ashamed. So maybe you wouldn't think twice about it. Is kind of my thoughts on that.
Talk to a closeted high school student right now that's a sports high school student that's thinking, I'm in these sports teams and the only things I might be hearing are jokes about people like me, and I could never talk to my sports teams about me. Just talk to that group that feels pretty alone.
Yeah. I mean, I get that completely. Like in the locker room, there would be like jokes constantly about gay people. And if we suspected that someone from high school was gay, they were like the butt of every joke. And yeah, like, so I totally understand that. I think what's important to remember though is like you're not alone, whether or not you think you are, because I'm sure that you're not the only one in that locker room or like in that classroom that is closeted as well. Like, and whether that person's gay, whether that person's bi or transgender, or whatever it is, like you're just not alone. And God knows too. Like He knows that you're not alone, and he's already accepted you, and he's just waiting for you to kind of get that confidence and develop that confidence to do so as well. Because that's what happened to me when I was on my mission. And
Talk,
I didn't do that until my mission, but yeah,
talk about your mission.
I loved my mission. It was such a good time. I love West Virginia. I mean, when I got my mission call, I totally forgot that West Virginia was even a state. I don't think most people really think about West Virginia as like where they're going to go on their missions. But like I love the country roads and just like the woodsy rural areas, and it's just so different from Utah. It's unbelievably different, and the people there are so humble too, because it's not one of the wait sorry let me start over. It's one of the poorest states, if not the poorest, and so like people are willing to give the shirt off your back, and like members, I would say most members are willing to feed the missionaries however often they can. And yeah, it is a really, really good experience. I learned a lot. I learned who I am, like as a child of God and as a gay child of God, because it was towards the end of my mission is when I really accepted it. Like I remember, I was in my last area, and I was thinking a lot about like going home. I had like 6 weeks left, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Like I hadn't really come out to myself, but I was kind of talking around it. And I remember praying one night, just like flat out saying, like, I know that I'm gay, and I don't know how to deal with that, but I'm like glad that you now know, Heavenly Father, that I'm gay, even though he already knew. And I just got a very overwhelming sense of peace about it, and that everything was going to be okay. I didn't know how it was going to be okay, but it just got that feeling. And then I made a plan actually the next day in my personal study. I didn't study scriptures. I didn't look at the Preach My Gospel or anything. Like I just made a plan to, like, when I get home, I'm gonna wait a couple months, like have the homecoming stuff die down, and then I'll start coming out to my parents, to my siblings, and then to my friends as well. And then, but I don't really know what my dealings were with, like, if I'm gonna date women or if I'm gonna date guys, and I was still kind of unsure. But but yeah, so then I get home, and then the night that I got home, my brother comes out to me. And I was like, okay, well, kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in my plans, but I mean, it's okay. I'll deal with it. And at the time too, when he came out to me, I didn't tell him that I was gay. I made up some, like, I was like, oh, I'm 10% into guys and I'm 90% into girls, just so that I could say it as like just a little bit. And then, yeah, he didn't really acknowledge that too much, but yeah, he took that pretty well too. But then we never talked about it after that. It was mainly just about like how he was gay and all that, and how my parents were dealing with it too. And yeah, so that's the long-winded story of how I really accepted myself. But then as soon as I got home, it was kind of like there's a change of plan a little bit.
You're doing a great job, Noah. Talk about, I just love this experience towards the end of your mission. And we teach personal revelation. We teach, personal relationship with Heavenly Father. That's so essential. What caused you to just open up to Heavenly Father and say, I'm gay?
Um, to be honest, like I really don't know what it was. I think it was just a lot of built up emotion with like me worrying about what's going to happen when I go home, and because all I knew was mission life at that point. And um, I wanted to be like as good of a member of the church as I could when I got home, but I was like, but I'm gay. I don't know how that's even possible. So then I was like, I just need some sort of confirmation or affirmation that like that this is okay, that like what I'm feeling is okay. And so then I prayed that night and felt great. Like I felt really peaceful, and like I said, made that plan the next day, and I felt great about that plan.
Go back to this idea. Do you think you said it, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. How do you think God felt about you?
He felt the exact same about me. I'd say like he loved me no matter what. I'm sure his image of me and it didn't change at all. Like his plan for me didn't change at all. Like he made me the way I am for a reason, but he was just like waiting for me to really fully accept myself so that I can like continue this plan that he has specifically for me.
It's a pretty powerful statement you just said, and there's no shame in that. That's one of the things I love about your personal revelation is just that you got to the place at the end of your mission, and maybe you were there earlier, where you recognized your Heavenly Father made you this way, and He's not ashamed of you. He loves you just the same as He loves all of His children. And I love then the personal relationship you can have because you know He loves all of you. And He's not looking that something went wrong or a mistake happened here. This isn't what I thought would happen with Noah, but this is who Noah is and who I was intended Noah to be. And I just love the way that puts you on the same moral footing as all of the rest of His children. And I recognize, listeners, that's a change that I've certainly seen in my lifetime and put you in just a better spot to make decisions going forward. Any more thoughts on that? That's just a really powerful principle you're teaching.
I think talking to LGBT people specifically, I think just realizing that like, God does not make mistakes at all. Like He made you the way you are for a reason. And like, me personally, like I'm finding that reason day by day. But the longer that I'm in a relationship with Marshall and continuing to go to church, I'm really starting to see the nature of God and how He works and how much He really does love His children. So I think just realizing that He has a specific plan for you, and our plans that we have for ourselves, like 99% of the time aren't what God has planned for us, which is okay. And I think growing up in the church too, the doctrine and the culture too, like you have like this specific plan for your life. Like you're gonna go to high school, you're gonna go on a mission, and then you're gonna get married. Like, and then you're gonna start raising a family, raise them in the church and the gospel, and then you're gonna die and go into the next life and the spirit world and everything. And like that's just kind of the plan that is laid out for us, like all our whole lives. And when there's a little bit of a wrench in that plan that I had in my mind my whole life, it scares me. But then like I realize like, oh no, this is still God's plan. It's not like this. That was my own mindset. That wasn't God's. And so I'm just realizing that He has a very specific plan for you and those around you that are affected by that. Then you can just go with confidence throughout the rest of your life with that.
Talk about this. So you're home for your mission, and the first surprise is Colin comes out to his gay. Yeah. You assume that you've got, you're going to be the one gay member of your family, and Colin's out, and your family's kind of processing that, and you're seeing how they're processing that in the context of you still being closeted. But talk about just if I had talked to you right as soon, and obviously you're going to lead up to this because you already said you got engaged to a woman. Just talk about your hopes and why you tried to make that work.
Well, when Colin came out to me, like I said, it did kind of throw off my plans. And not in like a bad way or a negative way. It was just like, okay, I got to figure this out a little bit differently now. And then I saw the stuff that he was going through in regards to my parents, because my parents didn't necessarily handle it very well, which is it's their first time ever being exposed to something like that. So they don't know how to navigate that, giving them the benefit of the doubt. But like just saw what he went through, like mentally, and he just was, I don't know, he was really struggling. And I just didn't want, like in my mind, I was like, that's not what I want my future to look like. I want to be super happy. I want to stay in the church as much as I can and make my parents proud. And so then like, I mean, I knew that this girl from my mission that I got engaged to, like people had been telling me that she liked me and all that, and she was fun to be around. She really is like such a sweet person, and so I just thought, okay, like it could be easy to date her and get along with her fine, and so selfish as that sounds, like that's just kind of what my mindset was. And so then I started dating her in like December of 2018, like officially dating her, and then went on dating and then got engaged in late August of 2019.
And then talk about what led you to break off the engagement.
Well, I mean, the obvious answer would be that I'm gay, but I don't know. So I remember very, very vividly when I was proposing to her, like the moment that I was on my knee and asking her to marry me, I just got this overwhelming feeling like this is not going to work. You're gay. It's just, there's just no way it's going to work. And so it wasn't an exciting engagement as it normally should have been for me. It might have looked like that on the outside, but like inside I was really struggling. And those 3 weeks that we were engaged, I was having a hard time. Like I was really sad. And when people would ask me like, oh, when's your wedding? Or when did you guys get engaged? Like, show me the ring, all that stuff. Like I just was never excited to talk about it. And I knew mentally like that's not normal. Like you should be excited to talk about like your best friend that you're going to marry. And so that was flag number one. Like I knew that, or red flag number one. Like I just knew that was like not normal. But then we used to go to the temple once a week, me and my ex, and one night at the temple, I just got this feeling of like this is not it. It's a no. You need to tell her like that you're gay and you need to break off the engagement. And I felt that from God specifically. There's just no way I could deny that was from him. Like I was in the celestial room. I remember that and like really feeling that. And I was terrified, obviously, but I also was like, I felt like I was okay. Like I was in good hands. And then meanwhile, I'm kind of freaking out my ex because like she has no idea what's going on, and like she can see that I'm obviously distraught. And another thing too that I should point out is she wasn't necessarily like blinded by like me being like super sad and just breaking off the engagement that night. Like I was very sad for those 3 weeks. Like, and I was just trying to brush it off as, oh, I have cold feet, and that's what she thought it was. And then that night when we were breaking off the engagement, I told her that I'm gay. And that was the first time I'd ever said it verbally, like I'm gay. And I broke down, and she was very like, I don't know, she was very loving when I told her. And she even said like I have this new like love for you. I can't wait to get to know this part of you. And I didn't know if she meant like we're gonna make this work, but I knew in my head I was like we won't be able to make this work. So I had to make that very clear. And yeah, so I broke it off. We waited a couple of weeks before we got together to really talk about what had happened. And then, the conversation didn't necessarily go as great as I wanted it to. And so, yeah. And then we just distance from each other. She eventually moved out of Logan, and yeah.
Thanks for telling that story. It takes a lot of courage to talk about that part of your life, but I think it's a chapter of your life that is one of your finest chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really painful chapter, but I think it's a real chapter that just shows your core courage, Noah. It takes a lot of courage to break off an engagement.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners got that. You got that personal revelation in the celestial room and that night acted on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just, stand-up guy that you are. And I recognize all the inertia that's present in LDS culture for you to find a woman and get married.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that would be your dream and your hope and something you've prayed for and we're wondering if this would become a reality. And so I admire you trying to make that work, but also admire you recognizing that this wasn't your path and sort of putting that pain to occur in the short term versus 5 or 10 or 20 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And Nolan and I talked beforehand. We both recognize that there's mixed orientation marriages that work. And Noah can correct me if I misspeak. No one wants anybody to hear this podcast and think that their mixed orientation isn't real or authentic, or that those that are considering mixed orientation marriages should listen to this podcast as a way to call them off. It goes back to the principle I think Noah's teaching us is personal revelation and personal revelation for each individual lives and the path that's best for us. Are you okay with all that, or do you want to go back and kind of further clarify any of that?
No, yeah, I think that's great. I mean, like I mentioned before, in regards to mixed orientation marriages, that's great if it works for other people, and I believe that it does. But for me personally, like I couldn't do that. Like I tried, and it just didn't work out, and it caused a lot more heartache than it really needed to be, and so but that's just for me personally.
I admire you coming out to her and telling her why. I hope everybody got that. That took a lot of courage. And I hope everybody recognized that was the first person you ever told outside of God.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so the day before, actually, I kind of told my brother.
It's okay. Yeah.
But I didn't say I'm gay. I just I don't know. It wasn't even like confirmed at all. But yeah, she was definitely like the first, like I am like gay. And so.
And I recognize you could have said other things to her to end that engagement and stay closeted. And my guess is she would have looked inward and thought this is all about me. And it would have been much harder for her to recover, if that's the right word, or move forward in her life. But I think that was just a sign of your integrity, to be honest with her about why you were breaking this engagement off. And as I'm sure she came to understand, that was something outside of her control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's painful for both of you, and no one wants to see an engagement, end. But I just recognize the courage and the integrity and just a stand-up guy you are, trying to do the very best you can. Talk about there's probably people listening that want to make a mixed orientation marriage work that are dating a gay guy or a gay woman. Was there any chemistry between the two of you? Was it just an emotional? Was there any physical connection, or as you look back, was it just an emotional connection, or whatever connection there was? You just knew it wasn't sustainable. Any principles you want to share there for others that are trying to figure out, is Noah's situation like mine, or is mine a little different?
Yeah, I would say that there was chemistry. Like we got along so great, and our humor was the exact same, and our interests were also pretty similar too. And she was also very like giving, and she sacrificed a lot of things, which I admired a lot. Like she's from California, and she moved to Logan to date me, which I mean, it put a lot of pressure on me to date her, but like just the fact that she was willing to do that just said a lot about who she was and how giving and loving that she was as a person. And so I would say like there was definitely chemistry, and I loved her, but it was a different kind of love. It's really hard to explain, but like it was just a different love. Like I loved her, as a person. I wasn't necessarily attracted to her, which is a huge factor into making sure that a marriage like a marriage works and a relationship works. And so I just knew that I was like, I'm not necessarily attracted to her. And so that was like a big reason why I did break off my engagement in the first place. But for people that are trying to make a mixed orientation relationship work, like just to keep God in every aspect of that relationship, because I think that will really help. And I did my best to keep him in there, but like in the end, it just didn't really work out for me. So
Thanks for answering that question. It's a good answer. And in the book I wrote, Listen, Learn, and Love, Embracing LGBTQ Latter-day Saints, I talked about just general principles to make mixed orientations potentially work. And I think honesty in the dating process. And I don't want to feel like you weren't honest, but I would generally, if you're not straight, I think you need to tell your partner sometime in the pre-getting engaged stage, not on the first date, but sometime in the pre-getting engaged, that one of you is not straight. And so then you can all process that fact in your relationship, and that may bring you closer together as you're vulnerable and your partner is also vulnerable, but it may give each of you better clarity about your relationship, what's the best thing going forward. And did you come close to talking to her about your sexual orientation earlier in the dating, or did you just think that this would kind of take care of itself?
I just thought it would take care of itself. Like, I just thought, like, if I date this girl long enough, like, I will become very attracted to her. I will, like, not even think about my gay feelings, and like, the longer I went, like, I would trick myself mentally, like, it's like, oh, like, this is working. Like, I'm in a relationship with a girl and God's helping me become straight. And it just got to a point where I just pushed those feelings down so much that it just like exploded, and kind of came out of nowhere when I proposed, but that's just what happened. And I think there's just a lot of built up feelings that I had that I was suppressing.
Good job. Great answer. And I just think you're making the very best decisions you could. Talk about once the dust settled and sort of there's, I guess, this chapter where the engagement's ended and there's family need to be notified and friends. And so then talk about what your conclusions were of your path going forward after that engagement ended.
Well, when I broke off the engagement, I made the plan to be celibate, to be alone and just stay in the church as much as I could, or to really just to stay in the church fully. And that was definitely the darkest month of my life. I mean, luckily it was only a month and I'm blessed by that, but that was one of the darkest moments of my life.
Why?
Just because, like I mentioned before, I had this whole plan of my life, like just because the church has a specific plan for people, and like I just had a wrench thrown in my plans, and it was something that I couldn't control though. Like, it wasn't like I decided or chose to be this way. It's like, it's just who I am, but it doesn't coincide with the church and the teachings, and so now I got to figure out a different path that is completely different from what I thought my entire life. So that's why it was really, really dark. And I didn't think either too that I would find a guy that is not angry at the church and that is not like wanting to be active as much as they can and raise also a family within the church and its teachings. And because there's a lot of good aspects and teachings of the church that I love and have blessed my life. And so like I've wanted to do that, but I didn't think it was going to be possible. And so I was just like, I'm just going to be alone, and that's going to suck, but it's God's plan for me to be alone, which is a very sad thought for me. But yeah. And then, like I said, me and that girl that I got engaged to, we got together and had that conversation. And that was when it really changed for me. I just thought, I should at least try to date guys, because I'm very sad. I wasn't ever suicidal, and I'm blessed that I wasn't suicidal, because I know that there are people that are, closeted or not, like there are people that are suicidal. And I mentioned this to you earlier, but like the closest I ever got to that point was like, I just thought like, oh, if I don't wake up the next day, then that's not a big deal. And like people can move on and all that. But now I don't feel that way, but that was the closest I got. So I'm very blessed in that regard. But then I started to see guys, and then that was when I met Marshall like a couple weeks later, and rest is history from there. So
How long have you and Marshall been boyfriends?
we've been boyfriends for almost 2 years now, and we were very secretive with our dating for a while because, and I kind of like fell off the face of the earth like on social media, and like just because I just really wanted to get away from like just comparing myself to other people and really trying to figure out like my own life and my own plan. And then if I got to a point where I was comfortable enough to like share a little bit of my life, then I would do that. But I really needed to get away, and that helped so much because I was able to come closer to God because of that, and I was also able to really develop a genuine connection with somebody who I am attracted to. So
Has your faith decreased, maintained, or increased since Marshall's come into your life?
it's increased. Like it's increased so much because he's helped me see like that it's okay to live in ambiguity. Like because I'm someone that just has to know something, and or like a reason why something exists, and he's helped me just realize that the first principle of the gospel is faith, and I wasn't having any faith. Like I just needed to know, why am I gay? Why, like, what is my plan, and or what is God's plan for me, and like am I still worthy to go to the temple? Like, and he's just helped me really see that if you don't have faith in God, like you're never gonna be able to live your life. And so because of that, I've been able to maintain or increase my relationship with God, see him for who he is, and really understand what the atonement is for, and who Jesus Christ is too, because he knows how it feels to be me. He knows how it feels to just struggle with this kind of it's not a trial in my eyes anymore, but just to struggle with this in the church. And so Marshall has helped me a lot with that. Like he's helped me maintain and increase that relationship with God. And like we go to church every single week, and like, I mean, yeah, there's times when like every other member feels like maybe you don't get anything out of church, but just the fact that we're there, to me it feels like home, and I feel like God's there with me, and like he is proud of me for making it another week to come to church and take the sacrament, do all that I can to please him, but also live my life the best that I know how. So
That's a really good segment. I love that your faith increased and your relationship with God increased, and I love the role of Marshall's role in your life. As we visited before we went live, listeners, these are two men that are in the same place in a lot of ways with their relationship with their church, returned missionaries, wanting to stay connected to the church as much as possible, attending church weekly.
mm-hmm.
What keeps you, some would say, if you marry a man, obviously you can't fully participate in the church. You may even lose your church membership. Why would you continue to come to church, and shouldn't you be really angry at a church that would, whatever words, talk about your anger and why you'd continue, if any, and why you'd continue to attend the church even if you got married to a man?
I mean, I've never really been angry towards the church. I've been frustrated at times, and I've had questions like I'm sure a lot of people have. But in regards to marrying a man and why I feel the need to do that and why I want to do that is just, I don't know, with my experiences in telling like my bishop last semester about me, and then like my friends within the church, and just stuff that has been said recently, like within the church about LGBT community, like LGBT people, like, and hasn't been negative at all. I see it more as like a positive thing, and that like I will be okay, and like the possibility of losing a church membership, like, I mean, personally, I just don't feel like that would happen, because we're doing everything that we can. We're going to be just like a straight couple, but gay. And so that's kind of where my thoughts are with that. Like I just feel that this path is right for me, and I don't really have any fear or anger towards the church or like losing my membership or anything like that. I'm aware that like there will be restrictions of what I can do, but as long as I'm able to still come to church and feel a part of like the Ward family wherever we're at, then that's all that matters to me and Marshall, and with our kids too, hoping that they're accepted just as much as a straight couple's kids. We hope that that's the case, and we believe that can be the case as well.
Talk about you've got 5 roommates that are LDS at Utah State.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about, are you out to those roommates, and how did they, if so, how have they responded having a gay roommate?
Yeah, I told my 5 roommates about a year ago. It wasn't all at the same time, but I would just tell one person after another, and eventually everyone knew, and they have been very accepting. Like our friend group hasn't changed. Like they welcomed Marshall with open arms, and they already knew Marshall, but they just knew him as my friend, and I think that really helped to see that they know Marshall for who he is, not as, oh, he's Noah's boyfriend, and we should feel a little bit different about that. They were actually able to like see him as a person before they even knew. And that's how they were with me. They got to know who I was as a person, and then I just also happened to be gay, and they've been great. They really have been great, and I've gotten closer to.
What have they done? What have they done to be great?
I mean, they just didn't treat me differently. I think that's the biggest thing. They just haven't treated me differently, and I'm also a little bit more relaxed. Like when we do talk about it, and I'm not like, it's not like they have to walk on eggshells around me or anything. Like if they want to talk about it, then we can talk about it. They're not afraid to talk about it, and they treat Marshall like my partner, just like another straight couple. And so yeah, nothing's changed. Like as like insignificant as that sounds, it's a huge deal. Like nothing has changed. I don't feel any different around them, and yeah, we still joke the same. We still have the same interests and do game nights all the time. And so, yeah, it's been great.
When I just couldn't have done that when I was your age, if a roommate had come out or a missionary companion came out where I was and where our culture was, I just know that I wouldn't have been able to do what your roommates are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that part of your story, just makes me, all of your story is great, but that part, I just recognize how much improvement we've made, and that these are your roommates. These are guys that you share, a roof over, and that they didn't withdraw from you.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously the way you've learned Heavenly Father feels about you. And so to have roommates, I think it just helps. It helps people to know that. And I don't know where your 5 roommates got to that point.
Yeah.
But I think it's just part of a maturing of our society and maturing of our church and having better understanding.
Yeah.
So just keep telling your story. I've asked a bunch of questions, but I don't know if there's things that are on your mind you'd just like to share with listeners.
So something that came to my mind when we were talking about like my roommates and everything, in regards to, this is mainly to people like who are closeted and they think that like if they tell their friends or their family, that like it's going to be the end of the world, and then those friends won't want to be friends with them anymore, and they'll get disowned or from their family or whatever the case may be. People are a lot more accepting than I think we realize, especially now. Like, and with like the like mainstream media, like talking positively about LGBT people, and like we're not afraid to talk about it anymore. I just think that people are a lot more accepting than people realize. Because I remember telling Marshall, like when we were secretly dating, I was like, I cannot tell my roommates, or I can't tell my mission people, my mission buddies, and because they're gonna think I'm different, like they're gonna disown me, and like I don't necessarily remember anything that Marshall would say to comfort me. I mean, I'm sure he did because he's Marshall, but like I just had that fear that would happen. And then the first roommate that I told, like I remember, like we were on like on his porch, and we were just like laying there and talking, and then I just got this feeling like I need to tell him, and so then I told him. It went great, like no fear at all, like was there anymore. And so I just got the confidence to start telling people. And he's not the first friend that I told, but that was when I first like was like people are a lot more accepting than I realize. And so
I like the word you've used. I was just more relaxed. That this part of me that I hadn't shared with my roommates, now that they all know, and they know about Marshall, and they know the context of a relationship, that just the word relaxed, I think, is a good word, just to describe how you felt, that you're not kind of living this, that you're just being able to be authentic with who you are, with people that you're close to, and just the feeling of belonging that can create, that you don't have to be somebody you really aren't to fit in. You can just belong based on who Noah is.
Yeah.
More thoughts that come to your mind on any subject you want to share with our listeners?
I don't know why I feel like I want to talk about this, but I kind of want to just like talk about Marshall for a second. Like I've never met someone who is more Christ-like in my entire life. Like, and I've never been so sure of marrying someone or just being in a relationship in general, like having it feel so right, because he treats me so well and we're really good for each other too. Like when someone's down, the other person's up, and they can help bring that person that's down back to where where they should be, like mentally and healthy and everything. And yeah, he's just like the sweetest guy on the planet. And you can talk to any of my friends and they'll say the same thing. Sometimes I don't feel like I deserve him, but like I don't know, God's helped me realize I am worthy of that love. And Marshall's also helped me realize that too, that I'm worthy and he's worthy of my love. Like we're really good for each other. And so I can't wait to marry this guy.
How do you spend time with Marshall's family, and how do they treat you?
They're awesome. Like they're very accepting. And I mean, Marshall's mentioned this before, but like his family used to not always be like that. Like it took time for them, but they're very accepting now. And I've been told multiple times by them that I'm just another member of the family. And I don't know, I went on a trip with them like a month ago to California, and I got like majorly sunburned on my feet, and I just kind of got wrecked there, and I got like blisters and everything, and they were able to like help me, like just I don't know, they were able to comfort me and just be there for me and get me what I needed, and didn't ask questions, weren't judgmental, and just like little things like that. It's just like I feel very welcomed in that family. And I don't know, they also have like testimonies of the gospel, and in regards to just like accepting people too, they have testimonies of. So
I love your tribute to Marshall. What a great thing to just, with all the things you could have said right then, Noah, you just want to talk about Marshall. And he's here, and I'm sure if we put the mic in front of him, he'd say the same things about you. He's nodding his head yes. But listeners, same-sex dating is complicated. I have a lot of parents that reach out to me and say, my kids, I've got a gay son or a gay daughter, and the reality of our situation now is that child feels their path is to date men or date women. And I just invite people to go slow, to try to date someone their own age, to try to find someone with their own values, to pray and ask Heavenly Father to guide you on that road. As I've been in this space for a while, it's not easy to do what Noah and Marshall are doing. And so I just, and often for parents, it's really scary because they don't, if their kids same-sex dating, their mind, just like my mind as a parent, goes down all these roads that kind of are scary. But sometimes then when you meet somebody that's kind of their equal, that is building them and not, it's a relationship that's 1 + 1 = 3 is a great principle of a relationship is, am I a better person from being in this relationship? Am I lifting that person? Is that person lifting me? Are we able to be vulnerable and authentic? Then I think some of the fear goes away. Yeah, it's still a path outside the doctrine of our church, but in the reality of some situations, that's going to be the reality. So you want to do that in the most responsible way you can. There's a lot of ways to do that. There's the multiple partner, there's the club scene, there's the scene of drugs and alcohol that get mixed all into that. And some people just, I think there's different ways to do that. And I like the way you guys are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that God's involved in your life. And I love that you want to stay connected to church. And I just recognize that it's just complicated, listeners. And it helps me to hear this story because it helps me to realize there's better ways than other ways to do this. And there's principles here in this. This feels like a relationship where you haven't rushed it. You have been pretty mature. You've been pretty thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're living together.
No.
And you're going to church together. So it seems like the advice I give all relationships to go slow, to make thoughtful decisions. Any more thoughts on this whole dating? Marshall, we're going to get Marshall to pull the mic up.
Yeah. Just as you say that, a lot of thoughts come to my mind because I had a little different story than Noah, and I got home from my mission and really just wanted to date in the temple for a while, and that just didn't work. And after a while, I wanted to date guys, and it was just really tough because when I decided to date guys, I wanted to date someone with my same values. And that was just really hard to find for me. And so there was a span of about 2 years or so where I just felt so alone because I wanted so badly to be in a relationship with someone. And I wanted to feel what my friends were feeling when I saw them getting engaged and, going on dates. And that was just very difficult for me to see that and want that so badly. But I just felt like it didn't exist. And, there was times when I was just praying and just begging God, like, am I just going to be alone my whole life? And there was one experience where I was actually watching an Elizabeth Smart documentary, and, it talked about her story and got to the end of that story where it showed her and her husband and they got married in the temple. And it just kind of like the Spirit overwhelmed me in that moment. And it just felt like I knew that God was promising me that I would have that. And that moment kind of gave me hope to move forward. And that's what I needed, just during this difficult time of feeling like I would be alone for forever. And I mean, I know that I was young, but I think it was just scarier the fact that I was gay. And I also wanted to be with someone who needed God in their life. And that was just difficult to find. So it just felt impossible at the time. But the one thing that I have learned through that whole process is things happen in God's timing, and you just have to trust Him, because when the timing was right, Noah came into my life, and he had to go through that experience with his engagement before we were to meet each other. And the timing on his life and my life worked out perfectly. Even though I wanted it so badly in the moment, God knew it wasn't ready. It wasn't the right time yet, and then when he finally did come into my life, it filled such a hole that I had for so long. And, we have taken it slow, and we have been very thoughtful, and we didn't settle for something less than what we wanted and what we knew we deserved. And because of that, we kept close to God, and He guided us to one another. And so that would be any advice that I have talking to someone else is, it may feel impossible sometimes, it may feel hopeless, but God does have a plan, and it doesn't fit with what our plan is. And that's been hard for me to learn because I love to make plans. And Noah laughs because it's very true. But God's plan is always perfect. And, if we trust in that, things just always work out how they're supposed to.
I'm glad you took the mic, Marshall. This is, I'm really at peace just hearing your story, and at peace that God's in your lives, and that sometimes I'm seeing just a little bit of God's plan, and I've just learned to just offer you my support, my encouragement, and to leave any judging at the feet of my Savior, who has a perfect understanding about your individual life journeys and the personal revelation you're receiving. My personal revelation doesn't give me the ability to judge your personal revelation. It's such an important principle in our church. So I've learned just to honor your personal revelation. I've also wondered in the back of my mind as I extend, if you had just come home from your mission and opened up to me as gay and I was your priesthood leader, I wouldn't have said, well, go date men. I would have invited you to follow the teachings of our church. But if you had said to me, I really feel now my path is to date men, I would have said as your parent or your priesthood leader, well, I'll walk with you on that road. My relationship in your life doesn't change. I want to walk on that road with you. I want you to tell me about that road. I want you to tell me your highs, your lows, and I will do that without an agenda. I'm not doing that so I can secretly sort of pull you back to what I think your best path forward is. I'm just going to walk with you on that road without agenda. And to be honest, part of the reason is I want to keep the family circle together, the friendship circle, and I recognize that the way I treat you may help you have less anger back towards the church. If I, as a church person, extend grace and kindness and support and just honor your path. And maybe we meant, this isn't, I'm looking at you, but I'm really talking to all of us, is I think sometimes the way we handle people as they receive personal revelation can affect how they feel about us in the church. If we don't point to them as all the things we could say about you guys that you've heard, I won't repeat them, but just say, we're all part, you guys vote for the same plan I did in the pre-earth life. We really go to the 40,000 foot level. We're all spirit brothers and sisters. We have the same heavenly parents. We're with each other. So I'm just going to kind of remember that. And instead of trying to find ways to divide us or separate us or sift us, I love this line, we're called to be not sifters, but gatherers. There's a better phrase than that. We're not called to be sifters. That's not our job. Our job is to call to be gatherers or catch stones, as Elder Rendland. So, that's just some of the ways, listeners, how I process this. And I love Elder Cook's talk about unity and diversity. And there's some diversity here. There's sexual orientation diversity, and there's life paths diversity. But there's a lot of unity here. And listeners, I just think there can be a lot of unity within the Latter-day Saint community around LGBTQ people. I think this can be one of our finest moments as a faith, is the kindness and love and inclusiveness we extend to everybody within our faith, and even those that are considering joining our faith, on how we treat our fellow members. So I'll turn it back to you guys for any more comments.
Like I've said before, and talking to LGBT people, like, God has a very specific plan for you, and whether or not you can see that plan, like, he has it there, and it's ready. It's just all in his timing. I think that is honestly one of the number one thing that has helped increase my testimony, is just realizing it's his timing. Like, it's not mine. As much as I want it to be, it's not mine. And whenever it is his timing, it always works out perfectly. I didn't know that I was one day gonna have to break off an engagement, and due to my sexual orientation, but that was something that God did have planned, and it led me to Marshall. And like I said, it works out perfectly that way. And now I'm living the best life that I possibly can. And I know that I'm very blessed in regards to what I've been through, with certain aspects. I've had dark times, with all of this, I think as every LGBT LDS person goes through, but like I know that there are like harder, I guess, mental stages that people have been in because of this, and because of whether it's the culture or just the church in general. Like I just know that like it's hard, like it's really really tough, but like you're gonna get through it, and I got through it, and like God is gonna be there every step of the way, whether or not you can feel Him or see His hand in it. And so that's one of the main messages that I wanted to portray to LGBT people who are closeted or out, and then also in regards to people who are trying to deal with like either their son or their daughter who's gay or bi or whatever it is. Just be patient with them. Like be patient with your kids, and also vice versa. Like LGBT kids need to be patient with their parents because it's new for them, and like even if they like, I don't even know, like even if it's super difficult at first, eventually they'll get to a point where they'll want to talk about it, and might not be for a while. Like it really might not be for a while, but eventually they'll get there, because I think most parents would want their kids to be in their lives rather than not at all, and just because of who they're attracted to. Like I just don't think that's like any decent parent's mind. I don't think that that's what they would want, is to just not have their kids in their life at all. And so there's patience on both ends, and it'll all be worth it in the end.
It's good. Anything you like to add, Marshall?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is that whether it's a parent who is trying to be supportive of their gay son or daughter, or struggling with how to accept that, or somebody in a position like Noah and I, where coming to terms with being gay, I think the key is just striving to stay close to the Savior Jesus Christ and follow His example, because when we do that, everything else seems to fall into place. Like there's people always say charity never faileth. It's in the scriptures, and I think that's so true, that because when we just have Christ-like love, things just work out a lot better. And that's something that can be really difficult to develop, especially in situations that are stressful and worrisome. And that's just stresses the importance of staying close to Christ and being able to apply His attributes in our lives and in our individual circumstances. And that's something that we're continually striving to do as well. And that's why we're here on this earth. And I think that's why we go through different challenges and different experiences, because that's what stretches us and pushes us to be able to develop these Christ-like attributes so that we can return to our Father in heaven.
Yeah. And if I may add one more thing, but in regards to parents trying to deal with their kids, and something that is really misunderstood is there's some parents that worry that if they love and they accept this part of their kid, that they are condoning it, and that they are having to change what they believe in regards to the church. And you don't have to change anything that you believe, and to just accept and love somebody for who they are, and support it too, because like Marshall said, charity never faileth, and someone that has a very supportive parent is less likely to even think about committing suicide or anything like that. And so it's important to realize that just because you're accepting it, you're supporting it, and you're loving them, you don't have to change anything that you believe. And even though like we think differently, like we believe differently in regards to like homosexual relationships, I get that's okay to have a difference of beliefs. And so I think that's very confused in regards to the culture, because it's new to them. Like it's new to parents, that like they don't understand how to go about it. And so I think that's something to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out how to love and accept that child, because that child hasn't changed. Nothing about them has changed. Like, and especially not in God's eyes, like nothing's changed. And so, if we want to be, Latter-day Saints, I think it's important to really accept that child, and you can also not change your belief as well. So
I love that. And it took me a while to get to that point, but I'm certainly at that point now. And it's kind of relieving to get to that point, to be honest, because it's not my responsibility. I just take care of myself and show charity to other people in love and leave any judging to the Savior. If your parents are listening, I hope that you recognize, you have raised two great sons. They're in college and graduate school that have great careers ahead of them, serve wonderful missions, help people, and are just so grounded in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I think are doing their very best job of being gay and Latter-day Saint and keeping both of those parts in their lives. So much of society says, well, you can't do both. And you're doing a good job of helping people understand that you can do both.
mm-hmm.
And I think some families, they kind of go through the stages of grief in some ways. I hope that's a good parallel, where it's sort of like denial, acceptance. And some parents that I meet with that have a child in a same-sex marriage, it's not what they thought would happen in their family, but it often brings the whole family together. And the principles that this caused the family to sort of have to talk about just brings the whole family together in more honesty, more communication, more vulnerability, and the family circle can get tighter. So if you're listening, families wondering if this is going to be your future, I think it can be one of your finest family moments, parenting moments, is how you navigate this and your ability to keep the family circle together. I think that's what one of the greatest things we can do as parents is do everything we can to keep the family circle together. So now I'm going back to the Patriots. I meant to ask you this question a long time ago. We're going from deep to shallow. So listeners, we're doing a sports podcast for just a second. Okay, so I've never been a Tom Brady fan.
Okay.
And he goes to Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And I watched that Super Bowl. I watched that whole playoff series, fascinated.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder, and I was so glad he won. But I'm wondering, as a Patriot fan, who you're rooting for in the Super Bowl.
See, it's so complicated.
Is it more complicated being gay and LDS?
It's about equal.
Okay, just checking.
No, I don't know. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of Tom Brady. I know he's like a great quarterback, and that's an understatement. But I don't know. There's other players that I really admired on the Patriots, and that's why I liked the Patriots. And so, it wasn't just him. So when he left, I was still rooting for the Patriots, wholeheartedly. And in the Super Bowl, I don't know. I was fine if.
Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I did. I was fine if either team won. I really didn't care. But part of me was hoping that Brady would lose. But at the same time, I was if he wins, that's awesome for him. That just proves that he's the GOAT. And
he is the GOAT. I've never seen a player impact the franchise like I saw Tom Brady impact that franchise and his work. And it gave me more respect for him. I've never quite understood. So that was interesting for me as not a real serious football fan, but
yeah.
All right. So
That's
now
funny.
we'll get off football for a second, but I just, anyway, we'll end on a serious note. Just thanks, listeners, for listening. The way you can help this podcast is leave a review on the Apple podcast. You can leave a star rating, but more important, if you write a written review, it really helps the podcast. You can, that's one way to help. You can't donate to what we're doing here. And if you want to buy my book, it's called Listen, Learn, and Love, Embracing LGBTQ Latter-day Saints. All the proceeds from that book go to a foundation for a young LDS gay man who did die by suicide in high school, a Davis County person up kind of your neck of the woods. And that's really what got me in this space, was just realizing how difficult this is to be gay in LDS and wanting to do all I could just to bring more understanding. But it's not really me that's bringing the more understanding. It's the platform of people like you that bravely step forward and share their stories. So that's what makes this podcast work. And it brings us together as the same human family. I would have loved to have heard stories like you, stories before I was a YSA bishop. When those first few gay men walked in my office, I had very little experience in this space, but I did feel impressed to listen to them. And I really felt impressed to be open enough to learning that they could teach me about being gay versus all the straight people in my life teaching me about LGBTQ people. And that's certainly been a part carried over in the podcast. And I learned things from both of you during this podcast that have been very helpful. So you two have a great life ahead of you. You're going to have great careers. You're in a committed relationship. I love that you're trying to stay as involved in the church as possible. And I hope we do everything we can to help you feel like you're needed. We had another earlier guest that kind of broke my heart. He says, I'll just pass out songbooks if that's all I can do. And your gifts and talents are more than passing out songbooks. We need you, and I hope that you can contribute as much as possible, and perhaps over time we even learn how you contribute more as our leaders are continuing to get more light and understanding on this subject. I don't think we're at the finish line, listeners, and we don't really get into debating doctrine or doctrine could change, but I'll just say I don't think we're at the finish line. We just have more work to do. And often it helps when people like you share your stories and are able to participate in the church because as much as you can, because that's kind of how my heart changed, was meeting people that were willing to participate in the church. And I recognize some listeners have separated themselves from the church, and I don't want you to feel like I'm on your case. I just honor everybody's individual journey. So I hope you felt the spirit. I hope impressions have come into your mind on your path forward, or if you're an ally, what you can do. And I'm thankful for these good men, Noah, Hanson, Marshall. Tell us your last name again.
Marshall Day.
D-A-Y.
Yep.
I don't think we ever said that. So now we know. Marshall Day, Noah Hanson, and this is Richard Ostler signing off.